Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're challenging some pretty ingrained ideas about leadership. What truly defines impactful leadership in today's world? It's complex, often chaotic. Are we driven by, external measures of success, things like visible outcomes or our public visibility, maybe even personal charisma? Or is there something deeper?
It's a really crucial distinction, isn't it? So much of what we typically celebrate as, quote, successful leadership in the mainstream can surprisingly kind of lead us away from profound, lasting influence.
Hmm,
So yeah, this deep dive is about shifting that whole perspective, moving from that relentless focus on just surface performance to cultivating a genuine internal posture.
right.
It's about letting go of that constant need for validation from the outside and instead building foundational character.
Hmm.
Ultimately, it's about discerning the true source of your influence and really realigning your entire approach.
That's the core of it. And our material today, it comes from the Master Builders Kingdom Leadership Academy, MBKLA. They're a biblically grounded, research-informed institution really dedicated to developing leaders with a different kind of impact.
Yeah.
Specifically, we're diving into their reflective tool, Seven Signs You're Leading from the Wrong Kingdom, and also their foundational framework, the Kingdom Cognitive Reframing Model, or KCRM.
hmm
Now, just for anyone unfamiliar, MBKLA draws its core principles from a biblical worldview, sure, but the insights we're exploring today, things about character, influence, identity, they offer incredibly powerful takeaways for any leader, regardless of background, who's seeking to cultivate truly comprehensive and enduring impact.
Exactly. That's a key point.
Hmm.
And our mission in this deep dive is really to unpack these concepts in a way that helps you, our listener, identify where your leadership might be shaped more by, let's say, cultural norms
Mm.
than by this deeper transformative alignment. And we'll offer practical shift tips to maybe begin a journey of rethinking and reshaping your leadership identity, your behavior. This is really your shortcut to understanding what it means to lead with profound conviction and comprehensive impact.
Okay, so let's really dig into this then. What exactly is the trap? The one many leaders fall into when they chase what the world often calls success.
Mm.
Let's unpack this core problem MBKLA identifies with conventional leadership.
Well, you see it everywhere, right?
Yeah. Leadership is often measured by, well, impressive outcomes, high visibility, maybe undeniable charisma, broad influence. But the MBKLA material challenges us, saying these aren't inherently bad things,
Right.
but they aren't kingdom things by default. Now, when they say kingdom things, what are they really getting at? Are they asking if these external measures align with some higher divine purpose for leadership? Or are they just tools that can be, well, misused if not guided by that deeper kingdom blueprint?
That's precisely the distinction they're making. And what's fascinating is the contrast they present. The world, with its focus on performance, it often drives us to do more, to prove ourselves constantly.
Mm.
But this kingdom perspective, it calls us to transform, to actually change who we are at our core. Mainstream leadership often celebrates that captivating presence, charisma.
Yeah, the spotlight.
Exactly. While this different blueprint demands the enduring strength of character, it's a fundamental difference in what's valued, what's truly pursued.
And here's where it gets really thought-provoking for me. The common challenge they point out is that leadership is often deployed situationally.
Mhm.
Like you're a leader at work, maybe in a formal role, you execute tasks, manage teams,
Standard stuff.
standard stuff. But how often is that same leadership embraced comprehensively, in all areas of life, at home, within your family, and your personal self-discipline or your community involvement?
Hmm. That's a big question.
It is. And the core idea from our sources is that true kingdom leadership isn't situational, it's comprehensive. If it doesn't work everywhere, it doesn't work at all. Wow. That's a powerful kind of challenging statement, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It
Mhm.
really highlights this gap, you could say, this tension between how we often lead in these segmented ways and how deeply impactful leadership truly operates like a seamless, integrated part of who we are.
Right.
And this disconnect, this pervasive challenge, is precisely what gave birth to the Kingdom Cognitive Reframing Model,
Mm.
the KCRM. It's a framework basically designed to bridge that very gap.
Okay, so that brings us perfectly to introducing the KCRM. What is this model then, and how does it actually help leaders make this shift, from that fragmented, maybe self-driven performance to something more comprehensive? And, well, I think they use the term spirit-led obedience.
Yeah. The KCRM is described as a biblically grounded, research-informed model developed by MBKLA specifically to help leaders make that exact shift. And it's not just abstract theory. It uniquely integrates these profound spiritual truths with disciplines like adult learning theory, identity psychology, behavioral psychology, and even cultural anthropology.
Wow, that sounds incredibly comprehensive. So how did they weave all those different sort of academic threads together? What's the origin story there?
Well, it emerged from intensive interdisciplinary research right at the intersection of scripture, leadership theory, and these other fields you mentioned. They didn't just sit around theorizing.
Uh-huh.
They conducted over 24 months of field research. They worked with various leadership cohorts, spiritual formation groups, organizational leaders. And what's significant is how they validated its relevance. The case study data confirmed this urgent need for a biblically anchored reframing model, one capable of challenging and reconstructing what they call secularized Christian leadership paradigms.
Okay, what does that mean exactly? Secularized Christian leadership paradigms.
Essentially, it means leadership approaches that might say they're Christian or biblically based, but still operate primarily on the world's performance-driven metrics. You know, looking the part, but maybe missing the core alignment.
Gotcha.
So the KCRM is powerful because by leveraging, say, adult learning theory, the model helps ensure these spiritual insights actually become ingrained habits, not just ideas.
Right.
And by understanding identity psychology, it helps you rewire your deepest sense of self, not just tweak surface behaviors.
No, it's really about recalibrating our understanding of leadership itself, like right down to the root.
Exactly.
And the KCRM, you said it breaks down leadership transformation into 4 key cognitive dimensions. Can you walk us through those? Maybe give us a quick sense of why each one is so important.
Absolutely. So the 4 are, first, principles. These are your core truths. What do you fundamentally believe about leadership, about people, your purpose? These are like the non-negotiables that anchor your decisions.
Oh, okay. Core truths. Second, promises. These relate to your motives and your expected outcomes. What's driving you? What results are you really seeking? And where are you placing your expectations, your hope?
Motives and outcomes, got it.
Third, practices. These are your methods. How do you actually operate day to day? What are the practical ways you apply your principles and promises? You know, the how.
The practical application.
And finally, precepts. This is your identity code. Who do you understand yourself to be at the deepest level? This covers your self-perception, your sense of belonging, your fundamental purpose.
Principles, promises, practices, precepts. Okay, so if I'm getting this right, the KCRM helps you examine your leadership right at its roots, down to these foundational levels. It's about reframing your thinking to align with a different blueprint, what MBKLN calls God's original intent for leadership, influence, and identity. It's like going back to the source code, making sure your leadership springs from that rather than just external pressures or cultural norms.
Precisely. It really challenges you to ask, am I building on the right foundation? This all sets the stage beautifully for the practical tool we're really digging into today. The 7 signs you might be leading from the wrong kingdom. Now, I have to admit, when I first saw these signs, my gut reaction was a little bit of fear, like, oh no, am I doing all these wrong things?
Yeah, that's a common reaction.
So how does MBKLA frame these? How do they ensure these signs are a tool for growth and not just, you know, a source of guilt or judgment?
That's a great question, and they address it directly in the material. These signs are explicitly presented not as condemnations, but as reflective tools. Think of them like mirrors.
Okay.
They're designed to help you discern the true source of your influence, what's really motivating you, how you relate to people, what you prioritize deep down. Recognizing these signs is framed as an invitation to reframe, to shift, not as a judgment on your worth or your past actions.
An invitation, not an accusation. I like that.
Exactly. So, shall we look at the first one?
Yeah, let's do it. Sign number 1, you prioritize outcomes over obedience. Oof, that sounds like a really common leadership trap.
It really is.
Yeah.
This basically means you measure success primarily by results, hitting targets, achieving specific metrics, getting the win, rather than by alignment with God's instruction or what you might think of as that deeper divine guidance or core purpose. The insight here is, look, you can have fantastic outcomes, truly impressive results, but if they came from actions that were misaligned with your core purpose or principles, was it truly success in the deeper sense?
That's a challenging question.
It is. And the corresponding shift tip is incredibly practical, they suggest. Build in 5-minute debriefs after major decisions.
Just 5 minutes?
Just 5 minutes. Use that time to reflect specifically on alignment. Ask yourself, Were my motives pure here? Did I prioritize principle over just getting the outcome? Were there any missed moments? Then, and this is key, identify one specific action based on what you learn and follow through within 24 hours.
So it connects reflection to action.